Hi guys, we are making a new kind of video. We are gonna make a car video because we need to drive lots for hockey and our truck doesn't work for that because it needs lots of gas, and we wanted a car that didn't need lots of gas and was roomy, affordable, and reliable. So we looked on the marketplace and we found this Acura TL from the 2000 year. We got it, but it was in non-running condition because the transmission was slipping. But the Acura has lots of pluses. It's very roomy and the seats are heated and made out of leather. And I really like that it has a sunroof. But the biggest plus of all is that it only cost $400. And we're planning on fixing it ourselves, and we hope we can get it to run. So here is what the Acura looks like from the outside. Right now we are trying to figure out what is wrong with it and why it won't run. We have an OBD adapter that goes in the car, and my dad has a program in his phone opened right now that connects to the adapter so he can tell what the mistake in the car is. So he's loading the program right now, and we're gonna see what the problem is. The mistake that comes up is P0730, and it means that there is an incorrect gear ratio. So we decided to look at all the wires, and we found that one of the wires, the ground wire, is rusty. So my dad is gonna unscrew it and take the wire out, and we are gonna sand the ground wire, and we hope that that's the problem and this will be an easy fix. So my dad's unscrewed the bolt that holds the ground wire in place, and he's getting the sandpaper so he can sand the ground. So when he sands the ground wire, all of the rust is coming off so that the electricity can go through the wire and get through the car, and we think that this is what the problem is. So after my dad has finished sanding the wire, it looks nice and shiny now, and he's gonna attach it back in its place. So my dad is screwing it in place, and he's making it sure it's really tight and secure so the bolt that's holding it does not come loose. And you can see he's got a key to tighten it, and after he's finished tightening the ground wire in place, we are gonna put the rest of the car back together that we took apart to find the ground wire. So you can see we've gotten everything back together how it was. And my dad has gotten the tester. So now we're gonna see if there is a connection in the ground wire. So the tester says that there is a connection in the ground wire, and the mistake that showed up is gone. So my dad is gonna get in the car and see if it drives. So my dad has started the car up. We're waiting for it to warm up a bit because it's cold outside. And I really hope that the car works. I really want it to drive because I want to drive on the Acura instead of the truck to hockey. So I'm really hoping that that was the problem and the Acura will work. So my dad's gonna see if it drives right now. So he's gonna push on the gas and hopefully the car works. So the car is moving right now. Slowly, my dad is pushing the gas and the car is moving. It's going slowly, but it made it like halfway up the driveway and then the car stopped and it's rolling back down the driveway. So you can hear on the video how that my dad is pushing the gas and not much is happening. The car is just rolling down the driveway. And you can hear that my dad is pushing the gas and the car won't move. So it moved a little bit up the driveway and now it won't move anymore at all. Won't move backward or forward at all. You can hear my dad, he's pushing on the gas and the car just won't move. So after pushing on the gas for a while, we figured we're guessing that it's not an electrical problem and nothing is wrong with the wires. We think that it's probably something wrong with the transmission. So we are gonna take apart the stuff that is in the way of us getting to the transmission. So my dad's unscrewing everything and unclipping some wires that are in the way. And we are checking the transmission oil. So that's how you check it. And my dad smelt the transmission oil and it smelled really burnt. So we are gonna take apart the front of the car so we can get to the transmission to see what is wrong. Right now we are just taking apart everything that is in the way of us fully reaching the transmission. So we are just randomly taking apart the front of the car and unscrewing and unclipping everything that's in the way of us reaching the transmission. For everything that we take apart, all of the clips that clip wires together, they all are different colors and shapes, so we'll know how those go back. And this part right here, it has a crack in it, so that means that like bad air was getting in the car, and we're gonna have to fix that too. Here's the back, and you can see that there was water in the back of the car, and we took off the carpet, and you can see that there was like lots of water in the back of the car. So we're also gonna have to do something about that, because that means that like something was wrong, because water shouldn't get into the car. And we're going back to unclipping everything that is in the way of the transmission. So all of the wire clips, they're different and they all match, so we remember which ones go together. And all of the parts we take apart, we keep the bolts that held them in place with the parts we take out, so we can remember what bolts held them in place. And yeah, we're just trying to reach the transmission right now to see what is wrong with it. We are clearing a space so that we can reach the transmission. And then we noticed that the coil was loose and that it had been changed. So we decided to take the coil out and check what the spark plug looks like. So my dad is unscrewing the spark plug so he can take it out and look at it. So he's unscrewed the spark plug, and to take it out he is using a magnet because the spark plug is metal and he can't reach it with his hand, so he had to use a magnet. Here is the spark plug and it is in good condition. By looking at the spark plug, you can tell what condition the engine is in. And since the spark plug is in good condition, we are gonna put it back in its place and make sure that we have secured it in place really well. So my dad is making sure that it is really tight and does not come loose. Then he's putting the coil back in its place. It just gets pushed in its place and then it gets tightened with another screw. We are taking this wheel off for easier access to the transmission from the side. So my dad is taking that wheel off. And when we took the wheel off, we saw that there were brand new brakes that had been put on the wheel. And now that the wheel is off, you can see that it is a lot easier to access the transmission. Now my dad is going to take off the front engine support. So right now he is unscrewing the front engine support. And it is so that when the engine is vibrating, the rest of the car is not vibrating as much. And it is so that it is easier for the car to, or the engine to start driving and turning the wheels. And that's what my dad is taking off right now. Now we are going to drain the transmission oil. My dad is taking the lid off the bottom to drain it, and the lid has a magnet on it so that all of the dirt in the oil will stick to the magnet and the car won't use any dirt and won't get dirty. The old owner loved the car. He loved it so much that he didn't want to sell it. The only reason he sold it was because the transmission was slipping. When we drained the oil, we saw that he also loved the oil. If you guys have seen what transmission oil is supposed to look like, you'll know why the transmission broke.
Ну да.
Now we are taking the other front wheel off the car so we can take the engine support and the subframe off the car, and it would be a lot easier to reach the transmission. We have taken the front engine support and the subframe off the car, and now it is a lot easier to access the transmission. We are pouring the old coolant out of the car, and my dad is unscrewing all of the bolts that hold the transmission in place so that we can take it out. What we're gonna do is my dad is unscrewing the transmission, and then we are gonna lift the car up using like car jacks, and we're gonna lift it up so that we can pull the transmission out from under the car, because we unscrewed it and it will just stay there and the rest of the car will just be lifted up, and we are gonna pull the transmission out from under the car, and that's how we're getting the transmission out. So we've lifted the car high enough so that the transmission, my parents can just pull it out from under the car without breaking anything. So my parents pulled the transmission out, and that's the old transmission out of the car.
Ну все. В бублик выливать грязь.
So now we have a giant hole in the car, and we have our new transmission here and our old transmission out, and in the car we labeled exactly how the transmission was connected to the engine, and yeah.
Ничего. Просто там заткнул дырочку. Это усилитель гидроугла.
This is the old transmission that we took out of the Acura, and this is the new transmission that we got. When we looked at them side by side, we saw that the old transmission has this part and the new transmission doesn't have it. When we googled this part, it's an additional pump that was discontinued, and when we looked more closely at the two transmissions, we saw that this transmission is from the year 2010, even though we got it from a 2000-year car, from a guy who sells parts of broken cars. We ordered all of the filters and parts that we need for the new transmission already, so we are gonna put it in the Acura anyway and hope that it runs. Keep watching my videos to see if the new transmission works.